Brock Purdy will further intensify his ramp-up process starting Wednesday, but both he and Mac Jones are set to be beneficiaries of some really good 49ers news that came out of the game against the Rams, and that is the blossoming of this offensive line in pass protection. And wouldn't you know it, it just took the 49ers getting a veteran presence back at left guard. In fact, they've got two veteran presences there. Spencer Burford returned from injured reserve the week prior to the Rams game in the win against the New York Giants, and he was slotted in at left guard for the first time in his NFL career. Had actually played there a little bit in college at the University of Texas, San Antonio. And the week one starter for the 49ers at left guard, Ben Bartch, returned from injured reserve against the Rams. There was a nice snap division between the two against LA. Burford got a few more reps than Bartch, who was just coming off that injury, but both of those guys played well. And the 49ers, who were forced to go to a rookie in Connor Colby for several weeks at the start of this season, and they really paid for having to go to that rookie. It created major problems for them on the left side. They now have that left side solidified. It is no coincidence that Trent Williams played probably his best game of the season against the Los Angeles Rams, because he no longer has to babysit Connor Colby at that left guard position. I mean, Trent has to take care of mistakes next to him when the 49ers do not have that position solidified. Only one pressure allowed by Trent Williams against the Los Angeles Rams. On the right side, it's really worth noting that Dominic Puni is clearly healthier than he was at the start of the year. MCL injury for Dominic Puni in week 2 of the preseason, suffered on the extra point against the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. He's clearly struggled to get back to his 2024 form over the course of the start of this year, but I think the last couple of weeks of Dominic Puni have been really good. Remember, the 49ers went on that 8-run tear against the New York Giants where they had 63 rushing yards, just consecutive runs. Brian Robinson finished in the end zone. Well, it was the pass protection that showed out against the Rams. No sacks given up. They did give up a few pressures, but that's one of the best defensive fronts in football, and I think things really meshed well with Mac Jones' quick release as the 49ers did well to set that perimeter around their quarterback, and now both Mac and Brock Purdy stand to really benefit, because the last thing you want to do is reinsert a quarterback who's been dealing with turf toe in behind a beleaguered offensive line that is just yielding a lot of pressure. I don't even say that the 49ers right now project as a top half unit in terms of pass protection. You wouldn't know if you listened to some of social media, but that's where the 49ers are right now as a unit. Now, there's going to be a lot of talk about Jake Brendel, the center. He was back in place of Matt Hennessy in this game against the Rams. He did allow 4 pressures, but you know, the most damaging pressure probably came on the 4th and 4 late when Mac Jones threw that interception to Emmanuel Forbes. The Rams got pressure with 4. They kind of caved the middle in. They also saw Jared Verse give Colton McKivitz a lot of trouble on that rep. But I think by and large, Jake Brendel held up decently well in pass protection. There's going to be a lot of talk about the 49ers' lack of a run game against the Rams, but that wasn't the fault of the offensive line. The 4th and 2 that they didn't get, that was Luke Farrell, the tight end, missing a block. And just in general, the defensive failures made it such that the 49ers weren't able to have the rushing opportunities to develop the run game that they wanted. They had been trending up leading into this game against the Rams, but then they just weren't able to set up enough rushing opportunities to sustain that upward trend against the Rams, and they had to throw way too many times. But moving forward, I think that this offensive line is also going to be equipped to run block well, given the fact that it's got its 5 starters back. We'll see who wins that Burford-Bartch competition at left guard, but it is a good problem for the 49ers to have. It's all tied together, complementary football. If they play good defense, then they will have a chance to play balanced offense. And now that the line is at full strength and the QB room is approaching full health between Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, and Ricky Pearsall should be returning this week, I think the 49ers have a chance to put on some of their most complete offensive football of the season. And it comes at a good time because the 49ers have a chance to finally notch consecutive wins if they're able to rip off a win streak here over the next few games. They're going to be favored in each of their next 4 games. The first one's against the Arizona Cardinals. And it's one of those situations where the schedule, which we talked about being softer here in 2024, finally shows its underbelly to San Francisco. So now they have to capitalize on that and try to notch and string some wins together to move past 6-4, with the goal for the 49ers being what I predicted this year, 11-6. They're going to be favored in 5 more games. They're 6-4. You do the math, 11-6 is possible for San Francisco, but the offense has to lead the way, and that offensive line has to be the anchor of this 49ers team. What we saw against the Rams suggests that they can be just that, with both Ben Barch and Spencer Burford back at that left guard position. Remember, continuity for an offensive line is probably the most important ingredient. 49ers now have a stretch where they can really make sure that they hammer that home. Let's listen to Kyle Shanahan talk about the offensive line and much more from his conference call on Monday.
All right, guys. There's still no injuries from the game. Guys who missed the game, Ricky Purcell and knee, we're hoping to get him back in practice Wednesday. Brock with his toe, will continue to progress him. Should get more here this week. And then Alfred Collins with his hip, will continue to evaluate him, see how he is when he comes in Wednesday. Go ahead, guys.
Tyler, is there any possibility of opening up Brandon's practice window this week?
No, not this week.
Kyle, was there any chance that Alfred Collins was going to be able to go Sunday, or was that not even close?
No, it was close. It was. We were hoping he could. It was really a game time decision. He came in and tried to go, and it just didn't improve as much as we were hoping. So, should have better luck and better chance of that this week.
Want to thank our sponsor for this show, Ridge Wallets. Now, we've talked about some wallets before. Ridge sent me a couple of their wallets, and it's nice. Losing your wallet is the worst, but with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. For limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using the code Lombardi at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use the code Lombardi, and you are all set. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Once again, Ridge Wallets.
Kyle, it seemed like the defense struggled a little bit getting on and off the field in different situations, especially in the dime package. What happened there communication-wise?
Yeah, it was twice in the dime package. We just had a dime player come on, and we need to communicate to one of the linebackers that they need to come off, and we didn't do it till it was too late.
How did you feel the overall performance of the defense was yesterday?
Struggled. I mean, they put up 42 points, and I think we only stopped them twice, so didn't have a very good day.
With all this time off, do you want to see pretty much Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practices from Brock with pretty much no limitations before you started?
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of what we want to see. Want to hear from him, and want 3 aggressive practices, and want to make sure he feels good after all of them each day too.
You guys had Dante Samuel Jr. in for tryout today. Just what's kind of your level of interest there, and what did you hear about or see from him on his visit?
I didn't get a chance to meet with him or was part of the workout. I've been dealing, with our team and putting the Rams game to bed, so haven't got a chance to talk to anyone about it yet. But it was, I'm sure, just check him out, see where he's at. We know he's been a hell of a player, so it's probably just to see where he's at right now.
I realize that Nick Martin has been practicing at weak side linebacker and that he's behind D. Winters there. But has there been any discussion about giving him practice reps at strong side just to be able to get him on the field?
Yeah, there's discussions about it, and When we think that's the best thing to do for our team, we'll do it, but we don't think that is.
Kyle, it seemed like there was a lot of instances of blitzing, particularly from defensive backs who just simply couldn't get to Stafford, even though they weren't able to get around one-on-one blocks. Was that a persistent issue in the game? You thought that blitzers couldn't get there?
No, I thought our blitzers got there all right. Actually, I thought we hit him a number of times. He's just good at getting rid of it, and we got to make sure that when we blitz, we cover better the holes or the hot routes. We made them hot a number of times, but a good quarterback, when they're hot, they know how to get rid of it, so they don't just sit there and take a sack. Pretty much all the good ones are like that. We got to do better at covering, to me, to get some better results on those blitzes.
When you submit anything to the league in terms of officiating, are you aware of how many plays you submit? Because it seemed like there was at least a couple pass interference calls that went uncalled since the Rams had no penalties.
Yeah, our coaches always, we get that to one of our QCs, and they always type it all up and send it in, and then we get their answers at the end of the week. But yeah, we'll have a number that we send in.
Kyle, when you say rookies, you hope to get him back Wednesday, does that mean he's hit his numbers that you expect him back there? There's still some things you have to kind of check in with him on Wednesday.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what you're asking. No, the trainers just give me a list of where all the guys are in the injury room. And my note here says Ricky with his knee back into practice on Wednesday. So hopefully the next 2 days go good, and they do, then he'll be back out there. I think he had a good weekend. Is what that means.
Okay.
With Kyle, with a lot of the veterans that you depend, some of the veterans that you depend on, no longer ready to play right now, and with a predominantly young team, is a loss like the Rams game where it was fairly one-sided against a division rival and kind of a test to see, whether you could play with the elite teams. Do they look at it that way, you think, or not, or is it just another loss, another game to come back from?
I hope they don't look at it that way. That's what, we talk about our team meeting and stuff. We break up and watch it as individual groups, but I thought even though, there's a lot of bad things about that game, and I look at the defense and, I thought the offense, they stopped them twice in the second quarter, and we only took advantage of one of them. Not to mention on two other drives that we have a 4th and 1 that we don't convert on the 11-yard line, and we have a fumble going into the red zone. And then I look at that whole second half. That wasn't much different than when we played them in the second half a month ago, where I felt they scored on every drive in the second half. We just gave them a head start with our offense starting slower. And I felt the defense could have found a way to get off the field twice in that game in the second half, just like they did in the second quarter. And we're right in that game, and to me, finding a way to win it on that last possession. But we didn't get that done, and you don't want to underreact to that, but you definitely can't overreact to that. You got to look at it individually on each play and figure out how to find a way to get off the field. And there was plenty of opportunities that we could have found a way to get off the field versus a very good quarterback and a good offense. But we didn't get that done, and that's why we got to live with that result. That's also why we want to get back to work fast, starting on Wednesday, and get to Arizona and get this taste out of our mouth.
You got Ben Barch back for at least 28 snaps, I believe it was. How did he fare?
I thought he did all right. I thought it was good to just get him in there. He hasn't played in a while, so it was good to get him in some. 28 reps. I thought him and Spence rotated well, and overall, I thought our O-line did a pretty good job.
Well, was it strange to go into the post-game interview and say the words "no injuries" and then do it again today for this follow-up? It's the way it's gone all season. Did you catch yourself thinking, "I can't believe I'm saying these words"?
Yes, definitely. I'm still not fully believing it, so I'm gonna wait till Wednesday to make sure nothing creeps up. But it's looking that way 2 days in a row, so hopefully that'll be the case.
Kyle Tatum Bethune went off briefly, and he said after the game he was fine. So I'm guessing that injury, there's not one there, but he's done well. Where is Fred Warner really missed the most when you're looking at that defense? Because Tatum's tackle numbers are fine, but I guess overall, what's missing without Fred?
I mean, you're missing a Hall of Fame player, so I don't like to say anything to take away from Tatum. I think Tatum's doing a really good job, but you're missing a Hall of Fame player, and Fred is elite when it comes to just how intelligent he is, how he communicates, how he can get us in and out of every single thing, how he can handle every single motion. He's also elite in covering things from numbers to numbers. Usually if you're going to throw over the middle, you got to throw it over Fred Warner, which allows our safeties to play deeper. It allows our corners to just stay on top. But when you're missing a Hall of Fame player like that, it unlocks a lot of things, which affects all three levels of the defense.
Kyle, Robert Saleh has talked about finding the balance between getting too exotic on defense with your young players versus, not being too simple. Where do you think that balance was last night?
I think results-wise, not good, because I think we made too many mistakes, and that's the fine line. Like if you just sit back and do some really simple things versus a quarterback like Stafford and their offense, not going to give you a very good chance either. But when you try to get a lot of stuff done and we mess up too much, then you have no chance. So we got to continue to work to find that balance, what we do in the week, and carry it over to Sunday. But definitely made too many mistakes there on Sunday.
Without Fred and Nick, obviously two great players, but two huge leaders for the defensive group. When they went down 21-0, how much was it important for other guys to step up vocally, try to help that side of the ball regroup?
I think vocally is one of the most overrated things in the world. It all depends on what you do physically after that. So sometimes, I think very rarely are words by someone going to change something. Sometimes it looks like someone's being the leader, and that's all good, but results are based off what you do out on the field, and that doesn't have to do with a motivational speech. Guys are extremely motivated. It's their livelihood, it's their job. I think guys are doing all they can in that area. But I like thinking that if someone given some speech is going to change how a whole defense or a whole team plays, then that usually means you got the wrong guys.
Kyle, it seemed like this week was the week that all the injuries caught up to you guys. Did you feel like that?
Yeah, I think we know what our issue's been for a while now. I think a lot of those guys got banged up during the practice week, which I think made it tough. Especially losing Alfred before the game. Both of our linebackers being extremely limited throughout the week. I think that stuff does catch up. But when you play against a good team, a really good offense like that, and you are in this situation we're in, you better play at your best. And we didn't do that at all. We also didn't do that versus Houston, which wasn't quite the same offense as the Rams, but it was very similar results in terms of them going up and down the field. Now we held them to more field goals and touchdowns. But if you don't play at a high level when you are banged up and in the situation that we're in, I don't really care who you're playing. Those will most likely be the results. So we need to make sure that we play as good as we can each week. And when we do, I know this is a team that can win a lot of games regardless of who we play, whether it's a team that's looking to try to have a real high seed in the playoffs or whether it's a team that's not going to the playoffs. I don't see much difference. I see every game very similar, and that we're capable of beating anyone in this league in the situation we're in. But if you don't play good, we're also capable of losing to any team in this league too. And that's what we got to make sure that we do a really good job over these next 7 weeks, that we play as good as we can. And if we do, I really like our chances.